Alright, hey guys, Spitfire again. Today I'm on my lathe again, and I'm going to, just for the hell of it, I think I'm going to make a little tiny powder trickler out of this hunk of brass here I got. I got it in my lathe, and I just did a 3-jaw, and now I got it all trued up. And it's only going to be about 1.5 inches long or so, and I'm not going off any plans. I'm just kind of winging it. So let's get rolling here. Now that I got it squared up, I think the next thing I'm going to do is center drill it here. Center drill. And then what I'm going to do next is drill a little larger hole to bore most of this material out of here. Alright, I got a few bit sizes I'm going to go up. I don't know what this one's about, I don't know, 3/8 I think maybe. So I'm going to bring it up here, and I'm going to I think I'm going to go in, I don't know, like a inch or so. Alright, so I'm in now about 1 1/4 inches, and my depth of this whole thing is about 1.75 inches, so it's not going to be very big. And I don't know what I got here. I think I got a 7/8 or 3/4, whatever the hell it is. Like I said, I could get my calipers out, but I'm being lazy today, so we're just going to cut here and see how close we get. So alright, I'm going to go a little bit more, and that'll be the bottom of our hole. You can see now it's cutting the whole width of the bit, and it's cutting real nice. So alright, so there's the inside of my my hole, and I don't know what I got left here with about 1/8 inch wall thickness here, which is just about perfect for what I want it for. But I'd kind of like to put a thicker base on this thing, because this thing's kind of narrow, so I don't know, I don't really have any. I got a chunk of aluminum. Maybe I'll thread it and do a piece of aluminum or something, but we'll see. But there's a main barrel of our piece. Alright, so I loosened this up, and I pulled my stock straight out, and I'm going to return the outside here. I'm hoping it's pretty dang close. I'm not expecting it to be perfect, even though it would be nice if it was perfect. And so we'll cut back here a little bit so I can get a little bit more of a base to set into my plate. But we'll continue turning this down here, and then we'll probably end up parting it off. I can see already that it got out of, it's not true anymore. And I'm just cutting this guy by hand, so not a super, I might run a little paper over it when I'm done. So I got my lathe set on the fastest speed and the slowest cross speed. So what should end up happening, I'm going to put this here to keep the crap out of my way here. Should end up happening is we get a nice smooth finish all the way across there. I don't know if that shows up on camera, but I got a super fine finish there, not so nice on this side. So I'll finish this up and we'll continue. Alright, I zoomed in a little bit, hopefully you can see good there. So I got done with my slow pass on my fast speed, and I just got some 320 here. I'm just going to run over it quick, smooth it out, and some steel wool. Alright, I'm just going to face the end off here too, because I want to make sure. After all those operations, and then grab my file. Corner off. ground file and I'm going to do a little internal. So I'm liking the way that thing turned out. I'm in about that deep, so that should be plenty enough for doing some fine stuff. Everybody's favorite tool, parting tool, which I hate, which this one's been, I don't know if I like that there, but I might redo it, but it'll work for today. And can't wait till the day when I get rid of this old tool post. It's coming pretty soon, one of these not too far away days. I'm going to ride this in there just till we get close to where we want to be. So I'll finish this up and then we'll continue. Alright, so there's our piece. Got to cut off. I got a little nib right there I got to get off yet, but we're going to, I'll stick this back in and I'll clean this up and we'll start with the next part. Alright, so I got my piece set up on a 4-jaw and I'm just going to show you guys what I did here. I don't have my height set on it yet, but so I have a little mini mill, but my mill is not quite big enough to fit this in and the drill bit size that I need. So what I'm going to do is, see these rails here? This piece will kind of center itself up in there. So what I'm going to do is, my measurement from before was 1.267, I believe. And we'll get close, 1.270. So that was the bottom of my, and we can just double check it here. That was pretty close to, that was the bottom of my piece there. So I'm just going to go in the middle of it, because then my hole for our feed chute will end up being right there. And that'll allow me to be about halfway through inside there. So I'm just gonna eyeball this here quick, and I got my camera set up in front of my tailstock, so I'm not too worried about this being exact on, but I'm just gonna line it up in between these two jaws here. Get it pretty close. I'm not worried about it being super accurate here. So what we're going to do is we're going to push that up tight, tighten my two longitudinal jaws down, and then I'll just bring that in tight, bring that in tight, and then I'll ever so gently snug each side up here. And I don't want to go too much because I'm sure I could bend this if I really pried on it. So I'd like most of my clamping force to be on the ends. Alright, so we're going to call that good. So now what the theory is that I can come in here with a center drill and center drill it, and then I'll finish, I'll drill it, and then if I had a reamer to the exact size I would ream it out, but I have a drill bit, so hopefully if I can cut it accurate enough, my drill bit will be within a 1,000th or so. That'd be good enough for this guy. So here's what I'm going to use for a feed tube. This is an aluminum 35 thousandths thick 5/16 aluminum tubing. So I got a 5/16 drill bit. I'll center drill it and then we'll drill it. Alright, so here's my center drill, and I do apologize guys if my lighting is bad, but trying to get better lighting down here. So I can see my piece is pretty well centered in there. And actually, now that I think about it, I do have a 5/16 end mill, so I might see if I can use that to I'll go undersized and then I'll run my end mill in there to clean it up to get to my 5/16. Alright, so here's my undersized bit. We're going to just drill it out. And I want to be careful once I get halfway through there because I'm only cutting one half of the, you can see it's starting to wobble on. I'm only cutting one half of the bottom. So I think what I'm going to do now that I'm halfway through there, I'm going to switch over to my mill bit so I can mill out that area that I don't want to kind of eggshell out, oval out. Alright, so here's my 5/16 end mill, and I want to cut, being that half that material inside there is missing, where the bottom of my drill bit is, I'm cutting across here, so I don't have any material up where this drill bit was, so I want to ream that out and make sure it reams out nice and straight. So I can feel that thing just ever so slightly wobble, because it's not really wobbling, but I can feel a little vibration from that, cutting in on that divot. I'm fairly confident, I feel pretty smooth there now. Now what I'm going to do is back this out, check it. That's where I'm at. Okay, I can see I'm pretty much on the back side of my tube here, so what I'm going to do is take my center drill out again and center drill that back side of that back wall that I ran my end mill up into. And then I'm going to bore it out again with the thin bit, and then I'll come back in with my 5/16 end mill and finish drilling through the rest of the way. And I'm just a little bit short on my other side. That end mill is not quite long enough. So what I'll do is I have my 5/16 bit here. I'm kind of working with what I got. Even though if I had a longer end mill, that would be perfect. I could flip it around, but it'd be a little tough to line it back up again perfectly straight, so we'll just finish it out with this guy. I only got maybe 30 seconds or so to go here, so So after we got done reaming our hole there, I got a little chamfer on this side from the, I ran the end mill in a little too far, but that's fine, I can use that. One thing, it did leave a few marks, so when I'm all finished I'll go back and clean all these off. But anyway, there's the inside of our hole. It ended up pretty much exactly where I wanted it to be. And when we insert our feed tube in here, it ended up being in a pretty good spot there. So I'm a little tight yet. What I'll probably end up doing is I'll maybe hone that out a little bit. I'm sure that those edges in there are probably what my issue is. I can feel it. So I'll probably just maybe run a bit, my bit that I just used in there, and kind of clean it out. But anyways, our next step here is going to be, I think I'm going to get my tube in here, and I'm going to figure out about how long I want it to be. But I'm not sure how long I'm going to end up having this be, but it's probably going to be somewhere around there. The thing I don't like about my tricklers now is that I have to have them so close to whatever it is that I'm using. And I like my RCBS, I think my a 304 scale, the big one. It's kind of a pain to use on those, my RCBS and my Redding one, so I thought this would kind of be nice to get a little longer feed tube on here. Alright, so for my knob, I think I'm just going to do kind of the same thing. I got my piece rough cut here, and I don't know, whatever, I'll take a measurement here and just make a random measurement, and then I'll go to that depth. And I'm going to make this knob, I think, a little bigger, because a lot of the ones I have just have these tiny little things, and it'd be kind of nice to maybe make it a little bigger so I can then grab onto it and maybe be a little more precise. Alright, so this is going to be nothing spectacular. I'm just going to kind of whittle away until I get to something that I think I like. So I think I'll just shut the camera off, whittle something down, and show you guys when I'm done. One thing I forgot to mention here before I started, I'm going to make this thing in reverse. So this end is going to be, it's going to sit in there just like this. So this will be my side towards the tube, and this will be my exterior handle. I think that's about all the wider I'm going to do it. I don't need it all that deep. And then we'll, like I said, I'll keep cutting away here, and then I'll show you guys when I'm done. Alright, so see these little guys here? Those are little pieces of brass. And where did they come from? They came off my lathe. And why do I always wear safety glasses? You can see my arm here. Let me turn my camera up so I can see. See that? You probably can't see it all that well, but I got those two little pieces flew up and slapped me in the arm and caused a little cut there. So I hate tool posts. I had this thing tightened down really well, but this brass isn't, this is, I don't know, this is a really, it's a brittle brass. I don't know what the hell it is. But anyways, I was right up on the edge here and this thing caught, which they do catch once in a blue moon. And this is not my first rodeo. I've been running lathes for, I don't know, about 8 years. So this is not like this is my first time, but anyways, just to show you, shit does happen. And I hate tool posts. I'm gonna get rid of this thing as soon as I can afford to get rid of it. But yeah, just to show you a good reason to always be wearing safety glasses. Don't want, if that thing would have flew up in my eye, it would have been an instant trip to the emergency room, and who knows what would have happened to my eye. So always wear safety glasses. Alright, so I got my basic shape there. It's a tapered towards the barrel, and then I'm gonna, I think I might scribe some notches in here. I don't have a knurling tool handy, so I might scribe some notches in there and then part it off. But first thing I gotta do is bore my hole. And what I think I'm going to do to attach this guy is, I don't have a reamer or a end mill that's a few thousandths under what my tube is, so what I think I'm going to do is I'll just drill it out to my 5/16, run my reamer in there, and then I think I'll get some epoxy and epoxy this handle on the back side of this guy. So same operation as what we did with the barrel, basically. Center drill, I'll undersize drill it with an undersized drill, and then I'll run my end mill in there, and I'll be sure to make sure that my end mill doesn't go further. You know, I only need that tube to go in about halfway, so the end of my knob is going to be about where my fingernail is here. So I think I might only run my tube into about here, so that's all the deeper my cut needs to be with my end mill. Alright, so I got my piece, and I'm about that far in. I might go a little further, but that's going to be pretty close. I'm a little loose. I ended up using my drill bit because my end mill just ended up being too dull to do what I wanted to do. So I'm a little loose, but once epoxy gets on there, it's not going to be a big deal. So now what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to try and score this guy. I've got a bit cut here. It's kind of a funky looking bit, and I'm going to try this guy out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up in my thing, and I'm just going to scrape across here. Alright, so this is a super unscientific way of doing this, but hopefully you guys can see this. So I got my dial caliper set up here, and this is my outer spindle gear here. And what I'm just going to do is I'm going to line it up, and I think every 2 or 4, I'm not sure how many teeth this is, but I'm sure it's an even. So maybe every two teeth, I could count it, but I'm too lazy today to do that. Every 2 teeth, I'll stop it on the point of my depth gauge there, and then I'll scribe it, and I'll click it over the next one, next 2, scribe it, go to the second one, scribe it. I'm on my first little gear here, and I'm just going to put a mark on my spindle to denote what gear I started at. if I get that far around. So I'm just kind of creeping in. Taking cuts, and then I'll stop it. So I stopped at 20 thousandths there, so I'll back out. Then I'll click over 2 and see where it gets me. So I think that'll be pretty good. And the 20, so that's my final depth. I'll crank back out. Click over 1, 2 more. And repeat the process. I left that one kind of deep, but nice thing about brass is it usually cuts pretty easy. So I'm going to spin it back around here, and then you can see kind of what we're getting. We're getting some lines there. So I'm going to finish this up, keep going around, and then we'll show you when I'm all done. Alright, so here's my last couple ones. You can see there, let me change the light so you can maybe see a little better. Alright, so my little trick here with the my dial indicator worked pretty good so far. We'll see where I end up. But I made sure to put just a little, I got a felt tip marker, mark the gear that I was on my spindle. So every time I go back I can reference it a little better, and then I can just see where I'm at. And like I said, as long as I'm on an even number of gear here on my outboard gear, I should be pretty dang good. And so I'm cutting these to a depth of 20 thousandths. Looks like I got this one and one more. Yep, right exactly where I thought. So I do have an even number of gears out there like I thought. And now all my little knobs are evenly spaced. Make one last cut here. 20 thousandths. So here we go. I don't know if you can see that. I got, try and fix the light here for you. So I got all these little knobs here. So that'll make a nice turning feature. Now I just got to go through and knock all these guys off, which half of them are already knocked off. And I'm probably gonna file this maybe and sand it a little bit. So I can live with that. I mean, my grooves on the inside are a little rough, but it doesn't matter. On the outside here, everything's nice and smooth. So what I'm going to do next is I'll just part this guy off with a parting tool. There we go. Alright, so there's my knob. If you can try and get the light right here for you guys. The knob. Turned out pretty good. I think so. So I should be able to turn it good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and locate my 5-minute epoxy and see if I can epoxy that guy on there. So this is JB Quick Weld, if I didn't mention it. It sets in, I don't know, a couple minutes. And it should be plenty strong for this. All it's doing is holding it so I can twist it. Little flakes there. And then I machine the end of my tube off perfectly square there. I'm just going to wipe this off because it'll be a lot easier to wipe it off now than when I get it all in there. And then I'll just leave it sit for, I don't know, probably 15-20 minutes. Yeah, it should be plenty long enough for this stuff to set up. Alright, so while I'm waiting for this guy to dry, I gotta figure out a way to hold this all together on the other side. And I've been thinking in thinking, and I'm not quite 100% sure yet what I'm going to do, but I got an idea. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'll drill this guy out, I'll stick in a bolt, I'll turn it down to my diameter, and then we'll make a cap. Alright, so here's the crappy thing about turning these guys is they're so squishy that they don't want to stay in there very well. So we got a 5/16 drill bit set up in my tailstock, and I'll see if I can ever so slowly drill this guy out. Like I said, it's still not going to end up being the size I need it. Well, it'll be the size I need it to, but it won't be the large diameter that I need it to be. So I got my little piece of tubing over here. So I'm thinking it should fit on there just about perfect. Which it does. So now all that's going to end up being is just a little tensioner for our tube. And I don't know where I got this stuff. I got it at a surplus store. Where you might be able to find it, I have no clue. Might be able to use like a polyurethane. It's like a polyurethane rubber, but it's actually, I think it's actually rubber. So what I'm doing here is just I'm going to put it in a bolt so I can turn it down. So I don't have to have such a large part here. Alright, so I'm just going to show you this. I got this 320 grit sandpaper. That was pretty good to clean it up for the most part. So here we go, there's our part. A little oblong, and I think I probably bored it out. But it's still going to be enough to fit on our piece there. A little ring gasket, that would be perfect too. That actually worked really good, but I'm kind of using what I got here, so use what you got, use what you can, whatever. Sorry guys, I missed a few steps, but I'm just making the cap here. I pre-drilled, or I center drilled, and then I drilled with a 1/2 inch bit. No, this is just a 1/2 inch reamer, or 1/2 inch end mill. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is just take a measurement on my depth. I got an idea about how deep I am, but 218, so it'll come out here. So that'll be perfect. So I'll cut what I got machined here is pretty much exactly what my cap is going to be. I'm going to have to go through, being that I left my little nipple in there, I'll go through and drill another 1/8 inch or so, my 5/16, so my shaft will slide through here, and then I'll right where the edge of my fingernail is there, I'll take my parting tool and I'll part that guy off, and then that'll leave me a cap with a hole in the center of it. Alright, so I got it cut off, and here's what we ended up with. Nice little brass piece. Alright, so there's our 3 pieces, and I can see here my quick weld set up pretty good already. So slide this guy in here, and then this guy is going to go sliding on here, and this will probably be a pretty tight fit, so bear with me. It's just getting that rubber to go in around that, and I don't really ever plan on taking this apart too much, so if it is a super tight fit, that's okay. I mean, at least this allows us to take it apart if we want to. There we go. So alright, so there's the tough part. All I gotta do is slide it down on there. I'll take an X-Acto knife and lob that guy off. And like I said, I might cut some of that stuff out the backside there, but basically there we go. That's our powder trickler. One last thing I have to do is that tube down in there. I'll have to drill a little hole in there, but that's pretty simple. I'll actually take it apart now and do that, because I'll modify, or I'll fix this guy and we'll mark it here, just with a little marker. I mean, it doesn't really matter where it ends up, but we want it to be about in the middle. So I'm just going to put a mark in there, pull this out, and I bunged the end of my thing up there, but that's okay. So we'll just take this over and however you want to drill it, all we got to do is drill a hole in one side. So we don't want to go all the way through this tube, we just drill it in one hole. So I'll just drill that quick and come back. Alright, so I got my hole drilled in there, and all I did was I drilled 3/16 size hole, and you want to make sure you get all your shavings out of there too before you put it, or before you start using it. So there's my 3/16 hole on one side. So I ended up just about perfect in the center there. And then I trained my other half of my rubber gasket washer thing here, and hoping I have a little better luck this. There we go. There you can see I don't have any hanging out the back end, and I can just slide that guy on there. And there we go. Here's our little powder trickler. I guess the only thing I would have left to do it is polish this guy up one more time, polish my tube up, and then make a base for it if you want to make a base. I'll probably do that on another video because that's dealing with pewter and pouring pewter. But there you go, there's the basics of a powder measure. I don't know, I'm kind of happy with it. I'm hoping that I got tight enough tolerances in there so when I get some little kernels they won't bind, and I hope my hole is big enough here. But this is kind of just off the, you know, for the hell of it. I decided to do something tonight. I had some excess brass laying around. I went out and bought this tube at a hobby store for about $2.50. So for about I don't know, probably took me 2-3 hours just dinking around and thinking about it and doing it to make a cool little powder trickler. I'll probably get some powder out next time when I do the base for it and test it out and see how it works, but I think it's going to work pretty good. I mean, it doesn't hold a lot of powder, but you know, it's my fingertip that much. But you know, when you're doing close charges, a lot of times if you can get your scale dialed, then you don't need it. But anyways, something kind of cool for you guys if you want to give it a try. It's a little brass, a little aluminum, a little epoxy, and you're good to go. If you like my videos, please subscribe. If you think somebody else might like this, send it on their way. And feel free to comment. I always enjoy reading comments and try to answer any questions you guys may have. So until next time, take care, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks.